Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. From wherever you're watching this podcast, I welcome you to Reinsights by FinRe. This is proudly hosted by Finsbury Reinsurance Limited, a Zambian domiciled reinsurance company located in Lusaka, Zambia. In this inaugural podcast, I have the pleasure of introducing Mr. Attilio Tornetta, the Managing Director of Howden Reinsurance Brokers out of Dubai. Mr. Tornetta, welcome to Lusaka and welcome to Reinsights by FinRe.
Thank you, Patrick. Pleasure to be here.
Thank you. We kick off this podcast by simply asking, what are your views on the current opportunities in the African insurance market?
Well, this is quite an interesting question, and I think the most important consideration is that Africa is not one single country. There are 54 different countries, and each and every country has different characteristics with different dynamics, so different market requirements. So, if we want to generalize, perhaps is we can say that at the moment we see that digitalization is definitely a growing opportunity for Africa. InsurTech, we have seen in many different corners of the world taking up and improving the way the insurance is distributed in the country. So this is definitely, the next chapter for Africa. And this can also help to another opportunity that is the micro insurance. If you think, for instance, about agriculture, it's a good way to reach all those small farmers that sometimes are working in remote areas in different countries. Having access to certain type of products that will protect them, and perhaps having that insure tech that will facilitate the distribution of those products. That's definitely can be an asset, and it can be a massive opportunity for the insurance sector. And this goes also ahead if you consider there are different corners of Africa that in the recent years they have been hit by huge nat cat events. So those cat events, most of the time, they have an insurance ratio that is very limited compared to other different regions of our globe. So that's another opportunity because that's a way that our insurance sector can show how we can improve the life of all our clients and how we can create a much more resilient world. Those are, in my opinion, at this stage, what I would say the core opportunities for the African continent.
A fantastic perspective coming from Howden. And with that in mind, obviously we can put forth a rider. What do you feel are the current strategies to overcome said challenges of tapping into said opportunities?
We have seen a lot of improvements in the recent years. I've been personally exposed towards the African continent for the last 20 years, and definitely there are massive changes. But definitely one of the things that has not been changing that much is, for instance, the insurance penetration index. We see that especially on the non-life side, we are always, below the 2%, let's say, if we want to create an average. What this means, it means that I think our sector needs to invest in somehow transfer the knowledge and the benefit of having, an insurance solution in house. But unfortunately, if you look at the average buyer of an insurance product, most of the time they will look at it as at a cost. I used to be an engineer myself. If someone would have been coming and selling me a CAR policy when I was on site, I wouldn't say, why should I waste this money? But in reality, if something bad happens, then there is, a massive concrete advantage for who has, investment somewhere. So that's definitely, educating, the population in this respect, try to work in increasing the penetration index. And then, one of the challenges that we should overcome in this continent is working about, the quality of the data that we produce. And we have seen a lot of companies investing very much, towards this. And this is a massive advantage because some products may already be available outside Africa. It's just a matter to replicate those products in the continent. But in order to do this, we need to be able to build up a business case. So working on this definitely, would be a good strategy to overcome those challenges that we were talking about.
Considering how Howden Re has assisted Finsbury Re in its setup and arranging its retrocession protection, going forward, how do you see Finsbury Re positioning itself in the African insurance market, and why?
Look, I'm glad you're asking because I had the pleasure, together with my team, to working, with the Finsbury Re team from day one. And I remember, the very first time I've seen the business plan and the value proposition of this company, what was the vision of this company. It may, it was something that it said, wow, this is different. Because we have seen a lot of establishments coming up, but here there was a different vibe, a different understanding, and there was also, already on paper the desire to bring a different product to the insurance companies who will rely on the reinsurance support on Finsbury Re. So with Howden, we succeeded in building up a strong reinsurance panel, and we believe in the years ahead, we can complement that offering. But in reality, it's not only because we are good brokers, it's as well because there is an amazing starting point. So answering to your question, I believe here there is the next Pan-African reinsurer. It's going to be a player that can have a say in this continent, and it can facilitate a lot of reinsurance solutions across all the 54 countries that we have mentioned in the continent.
Thank you for topping off that answer in that manner, because our last question is, how do you see Finsbury positioning itself as a global player beyond the African insurance market? You have pointed out the fact that Finsbury Reinsurance goal is to be a Pan-African insurance market, which is a day one objective. But beyond Africa, how can Finsbury Re achieve a global position?
Look, the nature of the reinsurance business requires differentiation of the book that a company underwrites. I think this is in the interest of the shareholders, it's in the interest of the company itself, and definitely, if the core starting point of this business plan is Africa, there is definitely a world that is worth to explore. In the service that we've been providing to Finsbury, we brought on board also some capacity for certain other areas. I'm thinking about Asia, thinking about the Middle East. So that definitely can be, also an additional starting point for the company to get, the feeling of the dynamics of those markets, and then complement the core knowledge about those markets, and then definitely expanding there. We like to say that Rome wasn't built in a day. It takes time. It takes time because it will require, of course, like the starting point, the strong capital, the strong value proposition is there. Little by little, by growing, by educating also, the buyers in terms of the quality of the services, the timing in paying claims, all of this, it will be definitely fundamental. But I honestly believe that there is an opportunity because the reinsurance demand globally is constantly growing and is always looking for new players who would have the capability of thinking outside the box. And the flexibility and the business feeling that I perceive at Finsbury, it's second to no one.
Mr. Tornetta, grazie mille.
Thank you very much.